Does a Jew date with his head or with his heart? There's a formula that I've created that'll help you determine if the person that you're dating is the person that's right. Larry and Linda are now divorced. What happens? You see is what you get. Say romance isn't two people looking at each other. It's two people looking out in the same direction. My name is Rabbi Dr. Jack Cohen. I have now become a pretty popular dating coach. My biggest dream is to build as many Jewish homes as possible and to make the first mitzvah of bringing as many Jewish children into this world. That's a great question. Dr. Avraham Twersky, who's a brilliant mind, asked an interesting question. Does a Jew date with his head or does he date with his heart? That's the question. And the answer is he dates with his head. Because if he dates with his heart, he gets lost. Now, where are we going with this, dating with his head? First of all, he has to understand himself. Who am I? What do I need to make me happy? Where am I going in life? That's what I need to know. And it leads to what we do. You create what's called a list, a top 10 list of needs. Needs are qualities in a person that would fill your deficiencies in life. What would make you happy? For example, I need a girl who's compassionate. I need a girl who's kind. I need a man who's warm. I need to make sure that the person has a good path to making a living. I want to avoid someone who has anger issues. I want someone who has integrity, who has honesty. So you need to have someone, you need to develop an idea of who you are and create a list of what you need. Now you have a roadmap of what to look for. Otherwise, you're basically swimming from lane to lane. Once you have a roadmap, now I'm not dating just anyone and anything, and I'm not accepting every date. Because if you accept every date, you burn out and you become so pessimistic and you get depressed. So you need to focus on understanding who you are and creating a top 10 list of what you need. If you're a good conversationalist and you ask good, solid questions, that's the majority of success. The questions could be something like, what's important to you? Describe an accomplishment you've made. What are your goals in life? How do you think you've grown? How do you deal with depression? How do you deal with a setback in life? How do you feel about children? Now you're getting to targeted questions. Most people who tell me that they are not succeeding in dating or they're not feeling it, I say to them, it's because you're not asking good, solid questions. You're just wandering in your conversation. There's a rule, there's a formula that I've created that'll help you determine if the person that you're dating is the person that's right for you. It's very simple. It's abbreviation, PAIR, P-A-I-R. If you follow that formula and you follow that algorithm, you're not going to make too many mistakes. But let's go with this formula. P, physical attraction. We can't dismiss that, not at all. We can't go crazy with it. Too many people are too obsessed with this area, but you need to be physically attracted. And then is A, admiration. After having spent 5, 6, 7, 10 dates, is there something you admire about the person? Whether it's their character, whether it's their work, whether it's their social, communal involvements. And A is also acceptance. Can you accept the fact that he had issues when he was young, or she got thrown out of several high schools, but now has reformed herself? Or there's a medical condition. Many times people drop people because they have diabetes or they had God forbid, maybe cancer, but they cured it. So that's A, admiration, acceptance. I, emotional intimacy. When you talk to each other, are you vulnerable? Can you open up and reveal secrets about yourself to the other person? Do you feel like comfortable sharing yourself with that? Because if you're not going to be able to enter a level of vulnerability, you're not going to make it. That's very important. Are you happy to be with each other? Do you look forward to doing interesting things with each other? Do you rotate the types of dating? That's called emotional intimacy. Do you freely talk to each other about your lives, your dreams, your goals, your aspirations? And R is respect. Do you see any kind of demonstration of lack of respect? Don't tolerate that. That's a sure red flag. Sometimes the mistakes happen when people brush problems under the carpet. When they see violations, anger tantrums, lack of respect, and they say, oh, it's okay, it's okay. No, it's not okay. What you see is what you get. Make sure that all that you're looking for is in front of you right now. You don't marry what was and what will be. You have to make sure that The person has what you need in the present tense. You need a person who's going to complement where you're headed in life. Is he or she going in the same direction that you're going? We say romance isn't two people looking at each other. It's two people looking out in the same direction. Okay, so you update a list as you go on in life. For example, I always tell people that are in their 30s, you can't be looking at the same list that you had when you're in your 20s. You have to update the list. You have to narrow, you have to widen the range out and become more flexible with people who are a little bit different than you. I'll give you an example. I have an individual and he's 36 years old and he's going out with a woman who's divorced with 2 kids. Now he comes from a culture where the parents are very into traditionalism. They're very down on the fact that he's dating a girl with 2 kids, but this guy loves her. I told him, has to modify the list now. You have to open up the candidate pool to people that are not only single, never married, etc. So as you go on in life, if you see that it's not working for you, you have to now modify that list and become more open-minded to certain things that you wouldn't have considered before. No, you can't say yes to everyone. It's impossible because you're going to end up becoming very disillusioned. It has to be someone that speaks to what your needs are. For example, give me an example. We have a girl who lives in this community, right? Who's a client of mine. And she presents to me a dating resume. She's not making a whole lot of money. And she showed me a resume of a fellow that doesn't have a job and is basically not doing much with his life. But she's 34 years old. I said, Esther, do you really want to go there? How is he going to put food on the table? He doesn't have a job. He's not doing anything credible with himself. He can't even afford to take an airplane ticket to come up to Crown Heights and date you. So you have to be realistic. You can't go out with everyone. But it has to be certain criteria that are met. We can widen those criteria. We can be as liberal with them, but certain criteria must be met. That's an interesting question. Great question. If you have different standards of religion, you're going to have serious problems. Let me tell you about a story of a client that I have in Las Vegas. The woman, they're both in the mid-50s. She became a person who came back to Judaism and walks a mile in Las Vegas to go to shul on Shabbos, on Shabbat. Her husband is not religious at all. And he's playing tennis on Saturday and Shabbat, washing his car, doing his thing, running around to the mall. And 10 minutes before Kiddush on Shabbos, he gets into his car and he goes down there. I kid you not, the cops are in this house 2 or 3 times a year. It's just very difficult to have a situation where religion is not on the same level, because I'll tell you why. There's a great writer out there. Her name is Gila Manelson. She tells a beautiful story. She had a couple. She's a social worker. She had a couple. Let's call them Larry and Linda. They're on the same page in virtually everything. They agreed on the climate, politics, food, you name it, travel. Larry and Linda are now divorced. What happened? How come they're divorced? Because Larry and Linda didn't realize that marriage is a spiritual path and you need to grow together. Because Larry and Linda didn't have that kind of growth. Larry stopped caring about Linda. Linda stopped caring about Larry. Self-centeredness took over and the marriage basically disintegrated. Marriage is a spiritual path. And I try to make sure that I pass this message on to many of my clients that are traditional, that are not that observant. By the way, with the uptick in anti-Semitism, what's going on in the world, so many people are contacting me now that are not observant at all, but are interested in becoming observant. I'm spending most of my time now just tutoring people in Judaism. They're so fascinated by it. They're fascinated by the beauty that it brings to their life. The idea of building a great Jewish home and having wonderful children, and that the Torah provides a blueprint for all this. And so yes, marriage is a spiritual path. Social standards. This is where parents get in the way. And parents want a certain name, a certain last name, and a certain social level. Let me tell you my own personal experience. My 3 daughters, when it came time to looking for shidduchim to get them married, I set for them 3 goals. And I say this to all the girls that I lecture to. I said, girls, I don't care if the guy has money. I don't care the social standards. There are 3 qualities that I want to ensure that when you go out, you look for these 3 qualities. I'll tell them to you in Hebrew, and I'll to define them for you. Make sure he doesn't have ka'as, anger, because anger is hell in a man. Make sure kamtzan, he's not cheap, that he's generous with you. Watch how he spends on the dates. And kaptan, make sure that he's not firm with this line in the sand, my way or the highway. I gave them these 3 qualities, and that's all I asked of them. And I would say that a lot of the women out there, search for these 3 qualities and you'll be okay. So social standards, you could bend today. A lot of it is just hype. You could have an outstanding girl who comes from a poor family, but her midos or her qualities of character are sterling. You wouldn't want to pass that one up. Depends on the community that you come from. I deal with everything. I've had Hasidic clients that go on what's called on beshow dates, where they meet for 2 or 3 times and it's done, because most of the research has been done by the parents. I'm but the majority of people that I deal with go on regular dating. It's important that you have a mentor. That's critical today. I think it's important. If you're dating and you're going on from date 1 to date 2, date 3, and it's going uneventfully, that's fine. But I think most people today need to speak to someone and to sort of like let them know what the date was like, any questions. I like to tell people after every date, I want you to do three things for me. Write a list of what you like in the person, what you don't like, and what you're not sure about. Let's discuss it. And that's how I would go about it. I think if you have your questions down and you know what you want and you ask proper questions, 10 to 15 should do it. 10 to 15 dates. Every day today is 2 or 3 hours. Starts once a week for maybe the first week or 2, and then advances to twice a week. It usually can cover about 2 months, 2.5 months. Ooh, that's a question that's been asked over the ages to the best of the sages. What do I think? Okay. There's more than one person that's out there for you. There's what we call the top of the pyramid, and then it gets wider. There's one person that's out there that's really, really meant for you. And that person, heaven will figure out a way, like they say in Hebrew, mazmin. They'll figure out a way that you should meet. However, you could blow it. There is a soulmate out there for you. There is a bashert. There's a destined individual. And heaven will see to it that you guys meet and go out. Unfortunately, you can misuse your free choice and end up not marrying that person, because today we're corrupted. We're corrupted with media. We're corrupted with toxicity, ideologies that are foreign to Jewish thinking. She's not good enough. She's not pretty enough. We get lost in the forest. I'll give you an example. You won't believe this. I was working on a shidduch, on a match. They were ready to go to proposal. The guy bought the ring, and then his cousin asked him, "Can I see a picture of the girl?" And he takes out a picture and shows him on his cell phone. He goes, "Ugh, she's so ugly. You're going to marry her?" And he dropped her right there on the spot. It's tragic. So you have to know, understand, you have to be comfortable with yourself and know where I'm going with this thing. There's a sense of comfort when you're with them. You just, as they say in a common colloquial expression, you vibe. You're just comfortable with each other. You understand each other's needs. You think about the same things. You have your pet jokes together. You enjoy each other's company. They get you. They get you. They understand you. They have your back. They do little things for you. She buys him his favorite soda. He picks her up from the airport. There's that certain level of consideration, and everything just seems to feel comfortable. That's how you know it's the right one. You miss them when you're not with them. You think about them on days off. I have an issue with the fact that you're not going to do some work in the dating relationship. I always tell my clients, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. I want you to know I want to ask yourself a question. What am I talking about tonight? What's on my agenda? I always tell them, I want you to learn something new about the person that you didn't know on previous dates. And then the work continues. Actually, after engagement, between engagement and marriage, I always tell my clients, it's a common expression in Hebrew, Hayetzar mishtolel, the evil one is wild. He's going to look for things to make fights between both of you. So you need to always be on alert for that. But no, it starts early. Between engagement and marriage, I want them to take a course. I even lectured a lot on this. What to expect in marriage, what to expect the first year. What is it like living with a woman? What is it like living with a man? A lot of these people, especially if they come from more Orthodox backgrounds, don't have these experiences. They need to understand how a man functions very differently than when a woman functions. And based on that, then they're more prepared. And they have to constantly work on their character, patience, not to blow up, to understand. I heard a beautiful line from Fagi Herzog. I was on Instagram with her yesterday, and she said that her father was a tzaddik, Rabbi Shua Binyamin Gordon. He said like this. He said, a man is the head and the woman is the neck. That's a fantastic line. Now you have to understand that she's not someone that's just going to be subservient to you. She's co-captain in every which way. Judaism admires the woman, gives tremendous respect, adores the woman. And a person needs to understand that, because it's easy to take each other for granted once we get married. Yeah, if there was very little thought put into it, it was a marriage where the person was pushed by parents. Oh, she's right for you. Oh, he's perfect for you. And there was no real work done to determine if they were right for each other. And they never developed a camaraderie in their relationship and a depth in terms of emotional intimacy. It's very possible. Or they had a great dating relationship, but either of them stopped focusing on the marriage. They took their eye off the road in marriage, and they slowly drifted apart to the point where they lost love for each other. Marriage it's critical. Marriage has to be constantly invested in. If you're not investing into it on a regular basis, it's easy for it to just deteriorate. Oh, very important. Okay, so you have to ensure that, for example, dinner time, cell phones off the table. It's very important. You have to have 15 minutes to a half hour every day of conversation that has nothing to do with the children, nothing to do with errands. Just talking about to each other about subjects that are about each other. There's a very interesting, by the way, there's a very interesting formula that I really love. It's called 777. Every 7 days, go on a date. Every 7 weeks, or go away for a day. And every 7 months, go away for a weekend. To reconnect, to ignite. They need to hear compliments. They need to hear praise. It's so easy. And it doesn't cost anything, but people can be so cheap when it comes to praise. And need to hear they're doing a good job in life. Praise the food, praise their promotion at work, praise the fact that he's doing such a great job at bringing in the money. People need praise today. If you praise your spouse, and you constantly, even if you don't mean it, do it, and you'll eventually mean it. Rambam says, "Medech shelo lishma ba'al lishma." If you do it not for the right reasons, it'll become part of you. Praise and a smile will go a long way. Force yourself, externalize that. You can't imagine how many people I make them stand in front of the mirror in the bathroom just to smile and practice 50 times a day. They just don't do it. But you don't understand. It's a small curve that sets things straight. So it's very important. Praising people, complimenting your spouse will go a long way to ensure a harmonious marriage. You need to love yourself, and you need to feel good about yourself. You need to trust the process that God has your back, and make the minimal effort, which is to speak to matchmakers and get out there. But most importantly, continuously work on yourself and your optimism and your joy. Because if you put out sunshine, you're going to get sunshine back. I don't believe there's a Shidduch crisis. I believe there's an attitude crisis. That's what I think. And I'll tell you why. They studied birth statistics. Everyone thinks there's 8 girls to every 1 guy. They just blew it away. For every 101 boys born, there were 98 girls. So that means that there's more boys being born than girls. Hashem is amazing. Hashem wouldn't build a world which wasn't roughly average, which wasn't roughly 50-50. He wouldn't do that. So they did a study in Whole Foods, 2 psychologists. They put down 2 tables. This is fascinating. And on both tables were jellies to taste and buy. One had an assortment of 6 jellies. One had an assortment of 30 jellies. When it came to testing, just to taste, there was 60% who tasted at the 24 and only 30%. But guess what happened when it came to buying? 70% bought at the 6 and only 20% bought at the 24. People don't like too much choice. Today, you can open up a cell phone and can scroll in a few minutes and see 400 or 500 pictures of people. Years ago, whether it was Eastern Europe or Northern Africa or Israel, you went to the local shadchan and you were offered 5 or 7 or 8 people, and that was it. Stay busy. Stay productive. Good hobbies, good habits. And if you're not observant, consider going to synagogue maybe on Shabbat. Connect with a local rabbi and continue your growth, because you don't want to slide backwards. You want to continue your personal growth. Judaism gives you optimism. Judaism is bent on personal growth, and people will see that out and they're going to want that.